Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/inspireddisorder.
What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
The Final Girls. This is a movie that I came across. I've been watching a ton of time loop movies, and this movie was listed on one of the lists on the internet that says this is a time loop movie. And the premise was just so crazy, and the cast was just so crazy that I just blind bought this thing on iTunes. And I have to say it was one of my favorite purchases that I have made in a long time. The Final Girls is a hilarious, it's like a horror comedy, but like a lot of craziness is going into this. The premise of this film is super fun. So it's a daughter of a actress who in the 80s was a scream queen in a bunch of like these B horror films, like Cabin Bloodbath or Camp Bloodbath or whatever. And there's a scene where it's leading up, the build up of this thing is her mom passes away. So one of her friends, the daughter's friends from high school, who's a movie nerd, decides to do, on the anniversary of her death, to do a marathon of the two movies that she was in, Bloodbath 1, Bloodbath 2. I don't know if Bloodbath is the name of the movie or not, but something like that. And she's convinced to go, even though, she's depressed and, her mom's dead. So she goes with the support of her friends. And during the film, the movie theater catches on fire. And in an effort to escape the theater that is on fire, they cut a hole through the screen, jump through the screen, and next thing you know, this group of friends has been teleported into that film. So now you have modern day, normal reality kids, like 4 or 5 of them, in this 80s slasher film, horror film. And the time loop thing is that they have to participate in this film to help it get through the film. Because after 92 minutes, the runtime of the movie, it just starts over again. So the actual time loop part is just a small part once they kind of figure out that they have to play along, that they can't just wait and and time just keeps looping. It never really comes up again. But the premise that these people are in an 80s horror film is hilarious. You're seeing just kind of the crazy overacting with Adam Devine playing one of the characters, just super over the top comedy acting. But like for that kind of horror thing, there's some crazy shots in this movie. Of course, it's got all of the, in addition to the cool kind of like time loop and premise of the thing, it's got all the 80s horror tropes. There's towards the end of the movie, it's got the 80s preparing for battle montage, which was great. The shots are really cool. There's a car accident that happens in the beginning. Spoilers if you don't know what events transpire after that car accident. Crazy car accident. But there's also kind of some cool shots and things that happen within the movie universe. Like specifically the flashback scene, the scenes where you have the wavy lines. The way this film visualizes those or reimagines those, and how like people could be like transported within this film world into a flashback of it's great. Like so much, it's just so fun, so inventive, so creative. All the performances are great. Shawkat is in this movie, which was Aaliyah Shawkat from what's that? Oh my goodness, what's the show that's great that she's in? Oh, I can't think of it right now. My brain is falling apart as we speak. But she was in Arrested Development, obviously. But the show on on Search Party, which is a great show. So when I saw Ali Shawkat in the poster for this, I was like, okay, I gotta buy it. I don't know. I'm a huge fan of hers, but the cast was pretty crazy. I mean, with Adam Devine also in it. Thomas Middleditch plays the movie nerd, which when he's in the '80s world, like he knows these movies so much, but like he, it's like this comedic thing because they're in a movie universe where he keeps getting killed, which is hilarious. Because he's like supposed to be the most well educated. But yeah, Thomas Middleditch is hilarious in this as well. But it's just really fun to see, like, and then within this movie, like the whole idea that like this daughter is getting to reconnect with her dead mother, who's playing, like they're all supposed to be playing the same age, which is hilarious because Thomas Middleditch is like supposed to be playing this high school kid, and he's clearly like in his mid-30s. So is like Adam Devine and Malin Ackerman, who plays the mom, which is funny because that's how things in the '80s were cast anyway. But there's just a lot of self-referential stuff that's hilarious. But the mother-daughter dynamic within it is really hard. It gives it so much heart because it's like she knows that she's in this weird universe thing, but it's still giving her away. Like there's a lot of movies where it's like characters being able to reconnect with parents, but the parents don't really understand the gravity of the situation because of whatever. I don't know if there was a situation in Big like that, but it seems like there might be. I would imagine a lot of the body swap movies have similar things. But yeah, the mother daughter thing in this movie was pretty great. The actual title of the film is a bit spoilery because there's a term, I guess, in horror films when you're the final character or the final girl. Like you're the one that's like the girl. It was in this thing. It's supposed to be the girl that shows up last in the cast of characters will end up eventually being the hero of the movie. So the original final girl that shows up later, maybe that person doesn't have the ending that. So they do, I guess, kind of twist things, but you can understand who the final girls are because it's pluralized. You have the poster of the mother daughter, so you got to assume that they are the final girls. Now, how the end of this transpires is great. The monster and how the monster's like confused, when it confronts these humans. It's crazy. But yeah, it has moments. It's got hilarious moments. It has legitimate like stressful moments. I wouldn't say, they're horror tropes, but there are scary moments where you feel like there's, despite the fact that they're in this like weird movie universe or whatever, it still feels like there's stakes involved. So the bad guy in this at times is funny, but then at times is like terrifying. But yeah, it's great. There's another movie that this is like, Tucker and Dale versus the Universe, I think it's called, which is kind of like it's a horror comedy that takes on a lot of comedy tropes, very similar in a lot of ways, about these two like redneck friends that are out fishing, and a bunch of preppy kids are going on a camping trip, and the preppy kids keep like accidentally killing themselves, or things keep happening, but it's all their fault. But they're blaming these rednecks as if they're the ones attacking them. Like it's a horror. It's a super hilarious film. Tucker and Dale versus Evil, I think, is the name of that one. But yeah, kind of a fun. Doesn't really have the layers of craziness that this one did. The fact that they're all in a movie, but even the end of this movie, right? So the end isn't even the end. The end of this movie happens, of the bloodbath movie, and it's like literally two of the characters kind of hugging, after the final battle scene or whatever, and you're literally seeing credits go past them like they're standing in front of a green screen up until like the very end of what would be in a movie, the kind of like rating splash card and stuff like that. And then they wake up and they're in a hospital, right? or she's in a hospital, or she and her and the love interest are in a hospital. They wake up and they're like, "Oh, finally we're out of this thing." And they start hearing voices on the other side of the curtain. They open it up. All the friends are there, right? Like it's a Wizard of Oz moment. It's like, I had a dream and you were there and you were there. But they were all there. They all remember. They're all like, "Yay, we survived." Even Thomas Middleditch. And he still has the scars from the battle. So you kind of realize that, there were two movies in this movie theater, this movie marathon. So the end credits, the post-credit scene of this film, which I wasn't paying enough attention during that kind of credit scene to know if it was the actual credit scene for the final girls or if it was like a made-up credit scene for Bloodbath or whatever. But yeah, the post-credit sequel tease of this was perfect because basically the same thing, but now they're in a hospital. Sets it up for a sequel, which I looked, and I mean, this movie came out like 2015. I haven't heard anything. It's been 6 years. I would love to see a sequel to this film. The premise is hilarious. I'm sure there's plenty more tropes that they could do. They could, new characters can be found in this hospital. I think it was so much fun. I would love to see a part 2. It would be so much fun to see a part 2, and maybe get some resolution to the entire story. Anyway, I mean, it could be all a fever dream that they're all like in comas after receiving, third-degree burns from the movie theater fire. But highly recommend checking this movie out. It's not streaming anywhere, but it's worth the $12 or whatever to buy it. It's called The Final Girls. Go get yourself some amazing coffee from our friends over at stationhousecoffee.com. Follow Station House Coffee on Instagram. But make sure you order yourself some small batch, single origin, premium coffee brewed in Thetford Center, Vermont, shipped directly to you, no matter where you are. Just hit them up over at stationhousecoffee.com. Give them a follow, Station House Coffee on Instagram, and get yourself some of the best coffee on the planet Earth. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/Inspired Disorder. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. And follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a wonderful week, everybody. Peace out!